Tus Cincinnati Bengals están de regreso en la acción, el campamento 2025 ha comenzado y Jay Morrison vino a platicarnos de todo eso a Somos Bengals de WHODEY NATION en español. Quédate aquí porque tenemos toda la información. Hola WHODEY Nation, ¿cómo están? Today, we are having a full English spoken episode because, as you can see, we have a very special visitor. We are very happy to have a longtime friend of the show. Without further ado, you know who it is. We're with Jay Morrison here. Jay, how are you today?
Oh, I'm doing good. It's one of the more fun days on the Bengals calendar, and it's the kickoff. Now football season is actually officially here with the pre-camp luncheon today.
Absolutely. For those that don't know what happened today, and we are recording the same day that Mock Turtle Soup Day happened, and of course, is the day that Mike Brown speaks to the media, and of course, a lot of the staff from the team also do the same thing. And well, lots of things happened there, right, Jay?
Yeah, they did. It's always it's the one. It used to be 2 times a year that Mike talked. Now he's turned that over to his daughter Katie at the owners meeting. So this is
Hmm.
the one time all year that Mike answers questions from reporters on the record, and so that's always at a big event. You never know what he's going to say. Duke Tobin is required to talk a couple times a year, and they don't go over that. Duke Tobin, the director of player personnel, essentially the GM of the team.
Hmm.
So it's always big when you get to sit down and ask him some questions. And then, of course, head coach Zach Taylor, and then all three coordinators: offensive coordinator Dan Pitcher, defensive coordinator Al Golden, the new guy on the staff this year, and then long time the guy that's preceded everybody on this staff, the special teams coordinator Darren Simmons. So we get to spend a little bit of time with each of them, kind of see what they're feeling about camp. And yeah, the news today was basically what Mike Brown said and what Duke Tobin said about the Shamar Stewart situation, the first round pick who was unsigned. Typically in these, not just on the Mock Turtle Soup Day, but any time questions come up about contract negotiations, it's we're working hard towards it. We're not going to get into details. Well, we're not here to make any announcements. We will let you know when it's done, and that's all you get. We value him. We value the player. They'll tell you that. But today was a little different. Today, the frustration from the situation with Shamar Stewart was evident. Not just with the fact that he isn't signed yet, but kind of the comments he had back in minicamp when he said the Bengals are more interested in winning arguments than they are games. And so, Duke Tobin said that he doesn't blame Shamar for this. He's listening to the advice he's paying to get, but he doesn't understand the advice that he's being given. And so I don't know if I wouldn't say ugly yet, but it's an uncomfortable situation now because you don't normally have both sides kind of publicly going at each other in these type of things. And it just feels dug in, and it doesn't feel like it's going to get done anytime soon. I think Trey Hendrickson on the other side, that feels a little more optimistic. They
Hmm.
Duke said today he deserves a raise. He's played well. He's earned it. He deserves it. We want to give him one. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of how much, how many years, how much money. There's still a little bit apart on that. It'll be interesting to see. Trey's under contract.
Hmm.
Shamar's not. So they can't find Shamar if he doesn't show up, which he hasn't. He was supposed to report on Saturday. If Trey doesn't show up, he will get fined. But he could always do what he did, like what Jamar Chase did last year: show up and don't practice. And you can't be fined. You're there. You're just not practicing. So those were the two big stories today: the contract negotiations, where things stand with Trey and with Shamar Stewart.
And well, we know when Bengals are amid situations, they don't normally talk about them, right?
Right.
And they're very reserved about them. And talking about Trey, specifically talking about Trey, the mere fact that they were being vocal about it and positive about it, I would take it as a good sign that we might have good news, maybe this week.
Yeah, it feels like progress is being made. And just the agreement. I kind of thought maybe the Bengals would just say, "Hey, you're under contract.
Hmm.
Take it or leave it." And Trey said, "I'm not going to play on that contract." That's easy to say in May, a little
Hmm.
harder to say when you get into the season and you're losing $1 million a week. And if he doesn't play at all, well, then we're right back in the same situation next year because he will still be under contract. At that point, it becomes retire or suck it up and play. The other option he could have is to sit out half the season, take the fines for the first 8 weeks, and then come back and play. And then he would accrue his year of service, and he would be a free agent at the end of the year. Um, I thought that could be a possibility. When he showed up in May and did his press conference on the field, and he was saying some pointed comments about the organization, but it does feel like it's closer now, and it feels like there is some real optimism that it's gonna get done.
Because after all, this contract that he claims he doesn't want to play in, after all, it's the extension that he
Hmm.
signed 2 years ago. I don't believe for what we've heard from the Bengals, that's where they stand. I mean, they acknowledge that raise, that deserved raise that he's claiming that he deserves, and we all think he deserves it. So that makes us think that they're close to getting somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, he was thrilled to get a 1 year, $21 million
Mhm.
extension 2 years ago, but
Exactly.
he was really good. He wasn't 17 and a half sacks good, and he's back
Hmm.
to back years since he signed that extension. He put up 17 and a half in 2023, and then he led the NFL with 17 and a half last year. So that
Yeah.
does change things to some degree. And then, but you've got the age variable too, where he's going to be 31 this year in December before the season's over. And players tend to fall off at that age, and it's not as though the Bengals are saying we don't believe that you're going to be good for 3 years, but the data says it's unlikely you're going to continue to put, if we're going to pay you for 17 and a half sack production, they're not necessarily believing they're going to get 17 and a half sacks for the next 3 seasons because it just doesn't happen very often for the guys that age. But it does. The fact that they're willing to negotiate and say that he does deserve some sort of raise is a positive step. And I do think that we're gonna see him with a new deal. I don't know how long it's gonna be. I mean, I think he would like 3 years.
Hmm.
Bengals might be willing to go two, give him a huge raise this year, and then a nice check next year. And then if he does, let's say he does
Hmm.
17 and a half again this year, 17 and a half next year, well, then he's right back in free agency again, and he can break the bank again, probably with a new team.
Absolutely. And after all, we all want to see how he fits in this Al Golden defense, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm betting that the twisting point is the guarantees. Normally is where things take a little bit longer. Sometimes the terms are more or less squared, but the guarantees are the ones that require a little bit more time. But we all want to see how Trey works in Al Golden's defense, and I believe that's what everyone's wondering. How will it work? Either
Mhm.
if Trey is or isn't there, we know he's going to be there. But anyway, um, how much of a difference are you seeing in this defense compared to last year's? Because well, we all know what went wrong last year. It was absolutely defense. Offense was working great. They
Yeah.
could have won any sort of game, but the defense was the Achilles heel, right?
Yes, for sure. And it's hard to tell, what it's going to quite look like yet, because in the OTAs they're just doing 7-on-7, and it's
Hmm.
it's it's they did more ones versus ones this year, and it was good to see kind of that energy and that competitiveness that you typically don't see until training camp. But until we can see them out in training camp in full 11-on-11 competition, and you really get a feel for what this defense is going to look like, and even you can get an idea. It did seem like they were going to use a lot more 5-man fronts instead of just the regular four. More kind of stunting and gaming, twisting guys in and out. And I think some people say you don't have to worry about Trey. He can sign and show up and be ready and just go get the pass rusher. But there are little intricacies that he does need to learn in this scheme. Um, and in addition to the five-man fronts, I think we're going to see some three linebacker sets as well, where they drafted two this year. They drafted Demetrius Knight in the second round, Barrett Carter in the fourth round, and I think we're going to see quite a bit from both of those guys. The big question for me is what's the secondary going to look like? And Dax Hill has been practicing the last couple of days. The rookies reported Saturday, and the injured players were allowed to be out there on the field. And Al Golden said today that Dax Hill's been doing that, and he looks great. So I think they're still going to kind of manage him a little bit when training camp starts, but he's good to go. So now we can, because he didn't do anything in OTAs, so now we can. That's kind of the first piece of the puzzle. Where's he going to play? Is he going to be in the slot? Is he going to be an outside cornerback? What's the rest of that secondary look like? So all that picture is all going to kind of start to crystallize. Maybe not Wednesday, maybe not the first day of camp, but when the pads come on
Hmm.
and they really get into the meat of training camp this weekend, I think we'll get a better idea of what the Al Golden scheme is.
But the Hilton situation, he hasn't been signed with any team. Of course, the Bengals are
Mhm.
not likely to take him back. Tells
Yeah.
you they need a nickelback, right? And Dax Hill can play all along the secondary. And well, with the DJs there and with Cam Taylor Britt also maybe wanting to have a revenge year, it kinds of sets a puzzle in which Dax Hill sort of belongs in within the cornerbacks, but in the inside of that formation, right?
Yeah, I do think he would be really good in the slot, but if they put him there, then this is every single year he's been in the league, they've asked him to switch positions. And
Yeah,
that's a lot.
that's right.
And he was playing really well as an outside
Hmm.
cornerback last year. He tore his
That's true.
ACL in week 5. And he was really coming into his own. So I think maybe we do see him start it, him and Cam Taylor Britt, and then DJ Turner kind of working here or there. And then last year's 5th round rookie, Josh Fig Newton is they're really high on him. He's a confident guy, and I could see him stepping in and maybe winning the nickel spot, or maybe it's DJ Turner
Okay.
that slides in there. But yeah, it's like you said, it's a puzzle, and the
Yeah.
good thing is you have all the pieces. You're not missing any pieces. You've got them. You just got to figure out where they go.
And well, talking about the defense, but just on the other side, on the defensive tackle side, the Bengals finally got some reinforcements, right? We just heard the news that Taven Bryan is getting to the team, a former first rounder. We haven't seen them in camp or any activities of the
Mm.
team, but it looks like someone to have uh, just behind the starters, right?
Yeah, these are depth guys, and they
Hmm.
were woefully thin there. They needed to add, and it was shocking that they didn't address it in free agency or the draft. They didn't draft a
Hmm.
defensive tackle. Now they did sign TJ Slayton. He's a defensive tackle, but he's one of those big wide body run stoppers. He's not the pass rushing three tech that they
Hmm.
really needed to go out and address. And that's what they did with Brian, and then with McTelvin, Ajum. So those are guys. Brian was a first round pick in 2018. He's just never really lived up to that, but the athleticism's there, and that's what Al Golden's calling card is he's really good at developing players, and it's more the young players. Brian's not a young guy anymore, but they're banking on him being able to get something out of him. And they've got they think they've got Shamar Stewart, but he's a guy that can move inside and rush from the inside. But Miles Murphy can do it, and Joseph Osai can do it, and Cam Sample can do it.
Hmm.
So just the more guys you can stick in there and keep that rotation running, and not only keeps them fresh throughout the game, but when the toll of the season starts stacking up, or if there's injuries, you've got other guys you can rely on in December, in January, when guys' bodies are worn down.
Slayton and Bryan, two bodies very different from what the Bengals couldn't get last year and the rankings fiasco, right? It looks like they're going to be better against the run.
Yeah, you would think so, just with the addition of Slayton alone. But Logan Wilson had a disappointing year last year, and it was a year cut short by injury, and he's back and he's healthy. And they are really high on this Demetrius Knight. I was going to say kid because he's a rookie.
Oh,
He's 25 years
he's
old.
25. Yeah.
He's married, he's got kids. He
Hmm.
doesn't feel like a kid, but he is a rookie. But he's a guy that is really good at a lot of different things, and it's kind of what the Shamar Stewart. That the problem with him is, everybody talks about, oh, he only had 4.5 sacks in college, which he did. But what they really like about him is he's terrific against the run. And, Sam Hubbard was in his day before he retired. Trey Hendrickson's never really been a good guy against the run. He does one thing well, and that's
Hmm.
rush the passer. So you
Right.
bring Shamar Stewart in, put him in the mix. You feel better about what that defensive line can do against the run. Where they really need to get better against the run is the secondary, the safeties. You know, Geno Stone, Jordan Battle, Von Bell when he was starting, they just they struggled. They missed a lot of tackles, and that's the last line of defense. And that's when an 8-yard run turns into a 40-yard touchdown. And so that's where they really need to get better. And they didn't do anything different. They're just counting on Geno Stone and Jordan Battle and Logan Wilson, all these guys to take a step forward and just be a more cohesive, better group against the run.
Those three guys deserve a whole and another episode to talk about them. But I want to switch gears and I want to go to the offense because time's about to be up. And I would like for you to tell us what are you seeing on the offensive line? Will it finally be better? We think we have the arguments on the table to think that it is so.
Yeah, I mean, it does still kind of feel like hope is the plan, but
Mhm.
you bring in a new offensive line coach, so that just that fresh start, there's a lot of confidence.
A
Um,
technician.
yes, a technician, and just a kind of a different style, just
Hmm.
really into the hand striking and the kind of the combat part of the position.
Hmm.
They drafted Dylan Fairchild in the 3rd round, and they basically are saying he's our left guard. I nothing against Dylan, but this team has struggled to draft and develop offensive linemen, and I just don't know that you can bank on that. And that's one of the reasons they went out and they signed Lucas Patrick in free agency. He's played guard in this league a lot. He's played center, so he's a guy that gives you flexibility. Ideally, they're your starting guards, Lucas on the right side, and then the rookie Dylan Fairchild on the left. You still have Cody Ford, who is a really good backup depth piece to have if you have to throw him
Hmm.
in there to finish a game or to start a game or two. He's not a guy you want starting all 17 games.
Yeah.
And then Cordell Volson's the big wild card in this. I mean, he started every game as a rookie, and they thought, okay, he's going to keep progressing and he's going to really be a good player. And he kind of leveled off. And then last year he backslid. He got benched a couple times. He might benefit from Scott Peters, the new offensive line coach, more than anybody else. So I think you're good at tackle. Orlando Brown, Amarius Mims, last year's 1st round pick,
Hmm.
really played pretty well last year for a rookie, and they're expecting a big jump from him. You trust Ted Karras at center. It's the guard position is the question mark, and it's hard to say, yes, they're going to be better. You see it. You see the path. You see the plan. But until you actually see it on the field in games, it's hard to just be like, oh, yeah, they did what they needed to do.
Yeah, and well, talking about the offense as well, and with those good predictions, and hoping that Joe Burrow stays healthy for the whole year,
Mm.
we also have another backup, right? Desmond Ritter just got into the
Yeah.
team, and it makes you wonder what will happen with Jake Browning. Will there be a battle? What's going to happen there?
Yeah, it's not going to be a battle. Dan Pitcher, the offensive coordinator, was asked that point blank today, and he answered it very short and succinctly. Jake is the backup.
Okay.
Desmond Ritter is here to make the team better in terms of depth. He's played games in this league. He was a
Hmm.
4th round pick. The Cincinnati connection, where he came to the University of Cincinnati right as Zach Taylor was leaving as the offensive coordinator. So I'm sure Zach was watching tape of him in high school, and he never really he wasn't involved in his recruiting, but there's that little bit of a connection. And I just think that he is a better 3rd string quarterback than Logan Woodside. Woodside's getting up there in years, and it's something where they love, and people that followed the Cincinnati Bearcats when Desmond Ritter was the coach, the quarterback there. super intelligent, just a student of the game. And yeah, he may not have the dynamic athleticism that Burrow has, but that's important for a backup quarterback, a guy that can really see things. And when Joe's coming off the field, you know, both Jake and Desmond can sit him down and say, "Hey, this is what we're seeing." Same with in practice, going over game film. It's just a really good addition for that room. But I'd be surprised if we see Desmond play beyond in the preseason.
Oh well, Jay, we're exactly on the timeline, so I would just thank you for your time, and especially on a busy day like this, to find time to talk with us. Any message for the Latin American fan base of the Bengals that also follow you? You're a reference. We're always quoting you. We're always checking your post in order to have confirmed information. So, what would you tell us as Latin America's fan base to keep track of this incoming season?
Yeah, well, I would say first of all, thank you. And then for the newcomers that aren't following, you can follow me on X at by Jay Morrison, um, SI.com, BengalsTalk.com. All my stuff is there. And then I have my own podcast with Paul Daner Jr., The Growler. Going to be expanding that this year, doing a lot of live shows. I know probably a lot of your listeners aren't going to be making it up to a game to come to one of the live shows, but you can always listen to them. They're a lot of fun. Uh, hope to keep everybody abreast of what should be a really interesting, really fun, and hopefully for the fans and for the players, a really successful season.
And we appreciate always that you come up with the correct information, because there, especially these social media days, there's a
Mhm.
lot of information going. Well, information, quote
Yeah,
unquote, right? Laying around and just confusing fans. And so having really resourceful sources is
yeah,
very, very important for us. So thank you, Jay, for your time. Um,
absolutely.
Bet we'll talk to you soon, right?
Yeah, let's do it again in the season.
All right. Nice to have you here. Huday. Have a good
Thank
one.
you.